Hey guys, I'm Becky from Book Bite Reviews, and today I'm telling you how I did on my 2019 reading goals. In 2019, I set up 10 reading goals that I wanted to try and accomplish, and I'm very, very happy with what ended up happening. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. My very first goal was to start a book journal, and Owl Crate every year comes out with a book journal. I went ahead and bought it and decided to use it for 2019. Now, is this goal accomplished? Yes, because my goal was to start one. Did I start it? Yes. Did I use it for the whole year? No. And that is why I made it my goal to just start it, to just try it out. I did not commit myself to doing this for an entire year because then I would have totally failed. The reason I stopped using it is not because I wasn't enjoying it or laziness. It was mostly because it wasn't what I wanted and needed in a book journal. Now, you may or may not know that I did put a 2020 goal of starting a bullet journal. I have already put up some bullet journal videos, and I am enjoying that so much more. And it's because it is so much more creative, and I can curate it any way I want to, change it up every month, and that is something that you cannot do with something that is already pre-made. So did I start it? Yes. Is this goal accomplished? Yes. My next goal was to read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I love every Pride and Prejudice YA retelling I have ever read, and I love the Pride and Prejudice movie starring Keira Knightley. However, I had never read Pride and Prejudice before, so I wanted to rectify that in 2019 and read the book. Now, this is another one that is a gray area on whether or not I have accomplished this goal. I started this book, but I ended up DNFing it, and that is solely because I just could not get into it. I know the whole story, so it wasn't anything that was shocking, but I hate the way that it is written. I hate the old language. I hate just a lot about it. I do not read classics for that exact reason. I just couldn't do it. So I DNF'd it. So technically, I attempted to do this goal. I tried to, but I didn't read it. So I guess we'll say we failed this goal. We'll go ahead and say it. Next was to read the Harry Potter series. I have never read the Harry Potter books before, except for book one. I read it twice, and because it is very, very well adapted in the movie, I figured that the rest of the books were like that as well. Stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. What a stupid thing to think. So I never went back, and I wanted to make it a goal in 2019 to read the books because I love the movies. And I did it, guys. I read all the books. They were amazing. They were so amazing. My favorite movie is not my favorite book. It was amazing. The books are far superior than the movies. I still love them both equally. I plan on rereading these books for the rest of my life, and they were just absolutely amazing. So this goal was 100% complete. My next goal was to read more books that were on my shelves. I have a lot of books on my shelves that are not read, and I wanted to try and rectify that because I cannot keep taking books out from the library and buying books before reading what is already on these shelves. And I ended up reading 44 books. Now, I think that that is a very good dent in the grand scheme of things. It's not enough to make me feel fully accomplished, but I did read more from my shelves. I made a conscious effort, and I'm happy with my accomplishment. My next goal was to read 2 adult books. I read mainly YA, a couple new adult, but I wanted to read 2 adult books and broaden my horizons. I ended up reading 19 adult books. To be fair, some of them are technically new adult, but that's still not YA, it's an adult. And a couple of them were also graphic novels. But for the most part, I read full-length adult novels, and more than 2. So I'm just over the moon with how my goal ended up being because I was not expecting that at all. My next goal was to read at least 2 thick books, which I define as a book that is over 500 pages. These books have always intimidated me. I wanted to try and get over that fear and read 2 of them. What I actually ended up reading is 13 of them, which means I read at least 1 a month, which is just absolutely insane. Am I over my fear of big books? I would say that I'm over the fear. they no longer scare me. I'm still getting over the fact of intimidation. I still look at them and I'm like, ugh, that's gonna take some time. But I no longer look at them and completely like write them off, which is what I used to do. I would see how big they were and I was like, not gonna happen. So no. I ended up reading a lot of big books. A lot of them were amazing. So I am over the fear. I'm not over the intimidation, but I'm getting a lot better. And I want to get to a point where it is just nothing. That any size book is just nothing to me, where I don't even think about it twice. If I want to read it, I read it, and that's it. We'll get there one day. My next goal was to read 5 new to me authors. I do not have an exact number of what I read, but once I got to 5 authors, I just stopped counting. So I did accomplish this goal. I read like way more than 5 authors. I believe that I finished this goal in January of 2019. So I just decided to stop counting it because there are a lot of authors that are new to me. I don't think it's a very productive goal. I don't read a whole lot of the same author, so it wasn't even very productive in my personal goal settingness. And yeah, it was kind of a bullshit goal and I accomplished it. Next was to finish 2 series. So I used to be, I'm hoping that I'm better now, really bad at finishing series. I would read the first book or like books 1 and 2, but I wouldn't read the last one in the trilogy, or 1 through 4 and wouldn't read book 5. I was just terrible at it. I would start a series and never go back. So I wanted to read 2 series in 2019. What ended up happening is that I either read from start to finish, read from X book to the end, or read the very last book, which is what I'm really well known for, is just not reading that last book. I ended up reading 12 series this year. I have caught up on so many series. I have made a giant dent in my series that I need to finish list. However, reading all the books that I did read in 2019, I now have new series that I need to finish. So it's just a never-ending cycle, but I'm very happy that for a lot of the books where I just needed to read the last one, I finally did it. Did I read all of them? No. I still have a lot of series to finish, but I'm very happy with my progress. My next and major goal, and one that I just completely demolished, was to read 55 books in the year 2019. Now, 55 was not that far out of reach of a goal for me. I have read more than 55 books before, but the last couple of years, I have been not even getting close to my Goodreads goal. And I used to read a lot, but life got in the way and I was not making reading a priority. I wanted to change that this year. I met my reading goal of 55 books in, I believe, May of 2019. So by the end of 2019, by December 31st, I had read 138 books. The most books that I have ever read in my entire life. It's honestly mind-blowing. I did set another reading goal for 2020. I did not put it anywhere close to that. I did put it at 75, just because I don't know if this year was just a fluke. I don't want to set myself up for too much failure if it was a fluke, and I never read this much again in my entire life. Yeah, it was a crazy year. And my very last goal was to read for pleasure. I got into a really bad habit of reading books that I had to read. I was accepting a lot of books for review, and then I just felt too much pressure to read them, so then I was just avoiding them and not reading anything because I'd also feel guilty about picking up other books if I'm not reading the book I'm supposed to read. It was just a big, vicious guilt circle. So I wanted to make it a goal for 2019 to read books for pleasure. If I wasn't enjoying it, DNF it. If I didn't want to read it, don't. Just move on and read a different book and come back to that one, even if it was for review, even if there was a deadline. Don't feel so pressured to read books. And I definitely accomplished that. I read so many amazing books. I read a lot of 4 and 5-star books in 2019. I had one of the hardest times coming up with my top 10 books, which will be coming out next week. It was an amazing year, and it was just an amazing, stress-free year in terms of reading. I loved the books that I read, and the ones that I didn't, I DNF'd or had fun reading terrible books. But it was just a fantastic year. You can obviously tell that from the amount of books that I read this year. It was great. So guys, those are all the goals that I had in 2019. I think I did really well. I really only failed one, but I tried to accomplish it. So overall, I give myself a pat on the back, a round of applause, because I think I did amazing on these goals. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Please don't forget, if you enjoyed it, to give it a thumbs up. If you loved it and you want to see more bookish content from me, please hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified as soon as my videos go live here on YouTube, hit the notification bell. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!